Long before modern borders were defined, the Kingdom of Kalinga controlled the eastern coast of the Indian subcontinent. Its influence was built on maritime trade, stretching across the East Indies and fostering a wealthy, distinct civilization. That prosperity is still visible in the stone architecture of the Jagannath Temple. These massive structures anchored an Odia identity that remained intact for centuries, even as regional dynasties rose and fell. This era of autonomy ended in 1568, when the region was conquered by the Sultanate of Bengal. By the time the Marathas took control in 1751, the territory was managed primarily as a source of tax revenue, with little regard for its political identity. After centuries of shifting external rule, the Odia people lost their sovereign status. Their wealth was diverted to distant capitals, leaving their culture to persist without the protection of a unified government. In 1803, control shifted again. Following the Treaty of Diogagao, the British East India Company seized the region and began integrating it into their colonial administration. This map of British India shows the result. For administrative ease, the British absorbed Odia territories into massive provinces like the Bengal Presidency, prioritizing tax efficiency. These new borders divided the population, suddenly separating people sharing the same language into different legal systems. A single contiguous group was turned into fragmented minorities within the neighboring regions of Bengal, Madras, and the central provinces. When a population is managed as a minority in several different provinces, their local institutions often wither from lack of attention. By 1900, the absence of Odia medium schools and regional investment meant that administrative indifference was achieving what military force could not: the slow erosion of a shared identity. At the start of the 20th century, the strategy of passive endurance shifted. Local leaders recognized that their survival now depended on organized political action. The lawyer Madhusudan argued that the region could never achieve economic or cultural progress as long as its people remained scattered. He realized that political unification was the absolute prerequisite for any meaningful development. In 1903, he founded the Utkal Sammilani. This conference was the first organization dedicated to bringing every Odia-speaking tract together under a single unified administration. The movement saw its first major success in 1912. The British agreed to separate Odia and Bihar from the Bengal province, creating a new shared territory for the two regions. But this was only a partial solution. Within this joint province, the Odia identity was still politically compromised, and the demand for a completely independent state remained unfulfilled. To reach the finish line, the movement needed significant financial backing and high-level diplomatic access. This map shows the unified province as it appeared before Indian independence. For the first time, these territories were managed as a single political unit. The new province brought together 6 core districts: Cuttack, Puri, Balasore, Ganjam, Koraput, and Sambalpur. Krushna Chandra Gajapati was installed as the first premier of the province, marking the transition from colonial fragmentation to local self-rule. The victory of 1936 was the result of decades of persistence. It proved that organized cultural willpower could successfully reshape a colonial map. This event was a first for British India, a province created specifically on the basis of a shared linguistic identity. This reorganization established a precedent that eventually reached the national level. Following independence, the model for statehood tested in Odisha became the standard for redrawing the internal borders of the entire country. Today, this legacy is celebrated every April 1st as Utkal Diwas. The anniversary is marked by the Odia Paksha Initiative, a 2-week celebration of the language and heritage that the 1936 movement fought to protect. The formation of Odisha showed that the most durable borders are not dictated by bureaucracies, but by the shared voice and unified culture of a people.